So,
You wrote a book a bit about the placebo effect, and is this when you first started thinking about this whole concept?
well, I wrote the placebo because I started becoming fascinated with the idea that you can give someone a sugar pill, a saline injection, or perform some false surgery or treatment, and a certain percentage of those people will accept, believe, and surrender to the thought that they're getting the actual substance or treatment. And they begin to program their autonomic nervous system to make the exact pharmacy of chemicals equal to the substance that they think they're taking. So then it begs the question, is it the inert placebo that's doing the healing, or is it the body's innate capacity to heal by thought alone? Because that pill is a symbol of possibility. All it is a symbol. The doctor says, this is a great new drug that's going to help with depression, and the person begins to think about the idea that they could get better. They're selecting a new potential in the quantum field. And then all of a sudden, a certain percentage of those people will get enthusiastic and theos, filled with God, inspired, optimistic. They start changing their emotional state. They're combining a clear intention with an elevated emotion, and they're changing their state of being. And all of a sudden now, I began to realize, do you need the sugar pill? Do you need the saline injection? Or can you teach a person, instead of putting their faith and belief in something exogenous outside of them, that would do the healing to change their state of being? Can they just select a new potential in the quantum field instead of focusing on a known, focus on an unknown, and revisit that unknown every single day until it becomes a known? And all of a sudden, you'll see people's depression go away, their anxiety go away, and they're not using the placebo any longer. They're healing by changing their internal states. And so that's when we started seeing those changes taking place. Before I wrote the placebo, it was a landslide. So that's when I started measuring, doing all the brain scans and the HRV monitors and the genetic tests and the immune system tests and the telomere tests, because we now know that it's possible. And so a person doesn't need the exogenous or external substance. They can move into a state of being without it. So I thought, once I understood the mechanics of the placebo, I could teach this process even better, and in fact, you can.
And the medical community kind of acknowledges that it's an incredible effect. I remember I saw a 60 Minutes show on this like 5-6 years ago, and they were like, yeah, it's amazing. And then they never seem to go beyond that.
Yeah.
It always just seems to be this weird mystical unknown, and then the medical community goes back to what they do.
Sure, well, you can't do a study right now, any drug-related study, without having a triple-blind placebo test. And placebos, just so you know, they range from working anywhere from 10% to 100%. Imagine that. So in a depression study, as an example, 83% or 81% of the people in a depression study that are given a placebo heal as well as the people that are given the actual antidepressants. Now, there's brain scans to show changes in their brain before and after. It means then they're making their own pharmacy of antidepressants by thought alone. And it took them 6 weeks, 8 weeks of taking that placebo every single day. Now, this is an important point, because most people think, oh, I did the exercise or the meditation once and my conditions should go away. Well, even in the depression study, 6 to 8 weeks of taking a placebo. Every time they take the placebo, they remind themselves that they're going to get better. They change their emotional state. Sooner or later, that becomes their new state of being. May take people 6 to 8 weeks of doing the work every single day where they start noticing significant changes in their health. So I'm a pragmatist. And if you're telling me something that's science-based, the question that I ask is, how am I going to apply this to my life? So as people begin to gather this information, I now know that every time we learn something new, we're making new connections in our brain. That's what learning is. If people can understand the understanding of the new sciences, quantum physics, neuroscience, neuroendocrinology, psychoneuroimmunology, the mind-body connection, epigenetics, all of those sciences point the finger at possibility. And if I can instruct them in a way that they begin to piece together the model, when I feel like we're at a certain point where the comprehension is right, if they can turn to the person next to them and explain it, in the workshop. If they can't explain it, it's not wired in their brain. But if they can explain it, they're beginning to install the neurological hardware in their brain in preparation for an experience. So then if I can set up the conditions in the environment and give them the proper instruction and allow them to surrender enough into the present moment, a certain percentage of those people are going to get their behaviors to match their intentions. And when they do, they're going to experience something new. And the experience then is going to produce an emotion, and they're going to feel unlimited, and they're going to feel whole, they're going to feel invincible. The moment they feel that emotion, now they're teaching their body chemically to understand what their mind is intellectually understood. Now they're embodying the truth of that philosophy by initiating it, which means if you've done it once, be able to do it again. If you can repeat the experience over and over again, you'll begin to neurochemically condition your mind and body to begin to work as one. When you've done something so many times that your body now knows how to do it as well as your mind, now you're mastering that philosophy, and now you're in a new state of being. So we have to go from philosopher to initiate to master, from thinking to doing to being. And once you get to that point where it now becomes innate in you, becomes who you are, then you've memorized an internal state independent of the conditions in your external environment. That's when you begin to master your environment or master your life.